I've been using the iPhone Air for the last 2 days, and it's worse than I thought. Actually, it's about as bad as I thought it was going to be. So I actually made a claim about the battery life on Twitter, well, X, formerly known as Twitter, a few days ago, saying, I bet that I can kill this sucker by 2 in the afternoon. And I did just that. So the battery life is not so great, but it could be better and it can be better. And I'm going to talk about that in this video to try and maximize the battery life. But yeah, I started my stopwatch, and in 5.5 hours, I took this phone from 100% all the way down to about 15%. And that's not good. Of course, we know it's only got like a 3150 milliamp battery. And that was something that I was really, really concerned about. Now, is that going to be the case for everybody? Probably not. And of course, I got attacked by a lot of people on X who are like, "How'd you kill it so fast? Mine lasts me a day and a half. I took mine off the charger this morning, and I've still got 30% battery this evening." It's because Apple does some manipulation. They came out with this new feature called adaptive power mode, and it's funny because it's on by default in all the iPhone 17s. It came with iOS 26, which means that you can use it on the iPhone 15 or the 16, any of those phones, but it's not on by default. It doesn't enable those. So, of course, I just thought about that in my brain. I'm like, why in the world would they do that? I'm like, oh, because they want to make the new iPhone 17s look like they get really good battery life. So people want to upgrade. But really and truly, if you've got an iPhone 15 or you got an iPhone 16, you can go into the settings and you can go to battery. And once you get into battery, down towards the bottom, there's an option where it says power mode. So you tap on that, and then you have an option here where it says adaptive power notifications, and you can go ahead and turn that on. So if you have an iPhone 15 or a 16 and you get bad battery life, go ahead and turn that on because you will get better battery life. And here's what it does. It says when the battery usage is higher than usual, iPhone can extend your battery life by making performance adjustments such as lowering display brightness and allowing some activities to take longer, or turning on low power mode at 20%. So this is a lot, I guess, kind of like adaptive battery on the Android phones. And adaptive battery takes about 5 to 7 days to kick in whenever it comes to learning your usage patterns. And that's what it does. Adaptive battery on Android learns your usage patterns, what you're using, what you're not using, what it can turn off, what it can't, and kind of optimizes the way the phone works based off of how you use it to eliminate things in the background or kind of shove things to the background when you're not using them so you get better battery life. It really does work. It usually grabs you about an extra hour or so of screen on time and battery life out of an Android phone. So that's always good. We haven't had anything like that in the Apple world before. So they went ahead and they did this, but it requires AI. So it uses AI and whatever it does on the phone to identify whatever it can do to try and save you some more battery, whatever you're using more battery than usual. So the criteria is very loose. It's not hard and fast criteria, it's fast and loose criteria, and it doesn't really tell you a whole lot, but it does say it can adjust the brightness or make it where things run a little bit slower to save some battery life, so it's not running it like 1,000%. And this sounds actually more like light mode that Samsung came out with a couple of years ago, and I've been a big advocate for it because what it does is it basically downclocks your processor by 15%. So it skims 15% of the performance off the top, maybe does one or two more other things, and it just runs it a little bit lower so that way you save more battery. And I think that it works. Whenever you have Android's adaptive battery plus light mode, and you really can't tell a difference, especially now when you take a look at these phones that have, like, say, a Snapdragon 8 Elite and you got a 4.5 gigahertz processor. If you take 15% off the top, I'll use the calculator here. Just I want to tell you. So let's say we've got 4.5 gigahertz, 4.5 times 0.85. You still got a 3.8 gigahertz processor, right? So that's tons and tons of power. So when you take a look at the iPhone, you take a look at the A19 Pro, even though this one is not as powerful, so it has all the same CPU cores, but it has one less GPU core. And I think a lot of that has to do with trying to prevent heat, which this phone does get warm. I was using it earlier, and there's very many times where it's warmed up, it's heated up when I'm doing stuff. And I think a lot of it has to do because there's no vapor chamber in here. And also, It's got the power, the A19 Pro processor chip, and there's a lot of titanium in here. There's just nowhere for that heat to dissipate. The heat dissipates from the end, goes outwards, and it's supposed to dissipate out through the rails on the side. But when you have a phone that has a substantial amount of titanium, we already learned this with the iPhone 15 and 16 Pro series. They have titanium. They were retaining heat more. And it's not just that the heat builds up or builds up faster, it has a harder time getting rid of it. So whenever you downclock and take away a GPU, and then if you go ahead and you use adaptive power mode, that right there is a little bit extra to kind of squeak across the finish line and get you better battery. But we just don't know to the extent. We don't have numbers. We don't know what Apple is doing behind the scenes, what exactly or how much they're turning things down. It's kind of like the phone's using its own discretion. And maybe after you use it for a week, it might work better, but it's on by default out of the box. So I was going through the power settings. I didn't even know about this. I found out about it because I was trying to examine and look at my battery life. And I'm like, oh, adaptive power mode. And of course, it's on by default. And, Apple does a lot of stuff. It's just like their promotion. It's adaptive. It's an adaptive refresh rate. And Apple is kind of continuously monitoring that stuff. And it ramps up the refresh rate or ramps it down based off of what you're using. It's another way to save battery. So they do a lot of adaptive things where Apple kind of takes control automatically of what's going on, not so much to give you the best experience, but to give you the most optimized experience and to try and help save some battery. So can you get better battery life? I'm sure you can. And also, it really does seem like the modem burns up quite a bit more battery than when you have it on Wi-Fi. So make sure you use it on Wi-Fi at home and then use the adaptive battery. So I turned off adaptive battery the first time because I wanted to see what it runs like, full power, no restrictions on the CPU, none of that stuff. And yeah, I got, I killed it in 5.5 hours. And that is the second fastest I think I've ever killed a phone. The only one before that was the Pixel 4, and I actually killed that one in about 3 hours of screen on time. But I'm a power user. I am an extreme power user. This phone is not for power users, and that's why I say I hate this phone. I hate that there's that level of frustration there because I like the phone so much. And it's not often I say that about an iPhone. I fell in love with the S25 Edge whenever I got that, and then this one, I love the way it looks. I think it's beautiful. I think it's a fantastic and sharp-looking phone, and I wish this had like a 5,000 milliamp battery so I could use it longer. Or I wish they had more controls where you could do like light mode on Samsung, where you know definitively what you're turning down, what you're turning off, and giving you more control, which of course we don't have with iOS. We get what they control and what they give us. But yeah, that's a frustrating thing. So I'm going to see how it is with the adaptive battery. I'm going to continue using this for the next couple of days, and I want to see exactly how much battery life that I can get out of it. And also another thing, I turn the brightness up quite a bit. Not quite a bit as in how bright, but frequently, because what happens with iOS all the time is it's always using the adaptive brightness and it's turning the brightness down all the time. And of course, that's going to save you battery as well. In my old age, I just feel like I need more brightness so I can see the screen clearly. So I do turn the battery up a little bit, the brightness up a little bit more manually, especially when I'm doing things like playing games, which I do seldomly, but I need to be able to see the screen really well for Boom Beach. But that's kind of the battery life situation. I think you can make it last all day. And I think as long as you have adaptive power on and you let everything kind of run the way Apple wants it to run, and you're not just sitting there burning your retinas the entire time. I made a joke because somebody had commented on my tweet. I said, look, it gets great battery life as long as you don't use the screen. And like, well, you can't really use it without the screen on for most things. That kind of defeats the purpose of having a phone. But really and truly, that's the whole crux of the situation. The less you have the screen on, the better battery life that you get. So when you sit there and you're playing, if you like play intensive games, if you're sitting there with the camera app open, recording stuff for a long time, if you're out in the sun and it's got to crank the brightness up because it does have the 3,000 nits brightness screen, which is beautiful, by the way. But even that, it dimmed very quickly whenever I was out in the sun. So it did bump up to 3,000 nits. And I walked down to the gas station today to go get one of these electrolyte drinks. I love these things. This is not sponsored by Electrolyte, but I really like these drinks. So I wanted one. So I walked over there, and granted, it's 89, 90 degrees outside, But yeah, the screen brightness turned up, and then boop, not maybe even a minute later, it was already dimming the screen. So it's doing that because of heat. It was generating a lot of heat. The phone got hot, and the phone, like I said, has gotten warm on me a few times. So battery life for me is going to be a sketchy thing, and I'm just going to have to see how it is with adaptive power. I really want to see how it is because I know how quickly I killed it with adaptive power off. I want to see how much I get with it on now. And I'm doing this not to show or not to purposely try and kill the battery as quickly as possible just to like go make a post on the internet. This is testing. I test these stinking phones. It's not like, oh, I bought it. Yeah, it looks great. Let me make a full review on this phone in 2 days and hardly use it, right? That would be a joke. It'd be a scam on the general public who wants actual information. If you're spending $1,000 on the phone, I'm going to test the crap out of this phone so I can give you the best information that you can get, at least the best information that I can provide. So now that I've got adaptive battery on today, I want to see how it goes. And then the next day I'll turn it off again. And then the next day I'll turn it back on again. So I'm going to do this for a few days. I'm going to do this week. I'm not worried about the 17 Pro Max. I'm actually recording with it right now. So this is the very first video I've ever recorded with the iPhone 17 Pro Max. So let me know if it looks better than my normal videos look. But I'm really diving in on this one because I want to give you all good information. But the 17 Pro Max, that sucker lasted me all day. I mean, I tried my best to kill it, and it took me about 12 hours, and I probably had like 7 hours screen on time, something like that. And I still had 25% battery when I passed out last night. So I feel pretty confident in the battery life on the 17 Pro Max. The other things that irritate me, the one camera really doesn't bother me that much because in casual settings, I don't use an ultra wide. I almost never use an ultra wide. Not really a big fan, but that does also eliminate the macro and no macro photos. But then the telephoto I do like because when I go to my kids' football games and things like that, I need to be able to reach out and take some good photos. And I ran into this problem 2 years ago. I'd got the iPhone 15 Plus, and I was really enjoying it because the battery life was just stellar, like insanely good battery life. And then I went to go take photos of my son. I couldn't even, it looked like trying to shoot a picture across the sidelines. My son looked like something pixelated, like Mario from the original Nintendo. It was just really, really bad. So a zoom lens is important to me in those situations. However, that's about the only situation. If I'm not taking photos of my kids when they're playing sports, I don't really care about the telephoto. So just having this new 48 megapixel primary camera likely going to be enough for most people. And my wife, she got the iPhone Air. She upgraded from the iPhone 13 Pro Max, and she's like, look, I don't care about zoom photos. I don't care about ultra wide photos. I don't care about macro photos. I just want a good, regular, normal camera. I'm like, well, this will work great for you. And she actually doesn't even care that it has one speaker. Now, the one speaker, the volume could be a little bit louder. It doesn't have a whole lot of depth to it, which the sound just doesn't carry inside the small speaker and small phone chassis. But what throws me off is the directional audio, because normally when you hear sound coming out of a phone, it's stereo speakers, right? You've got one speaker up top, one on bottom, so you get kind of that full experience. And if you kind of cover one up a little bit, you still get a good experience. Or if you like turn the phone away from you, you still get kind of a good experience. Well, this one, with the speaker only being up top, if you turn it this way, or if you're holding down, or you're like doing any different thing where the speaker is not pointed at you, it is a much worse sound experience. And when you're holding it like this, like just holding it and looking at it, or like this, it really throws you off, because I hear the sound coming out and my brain's expecting to hear it like in both ears from both directions. And if you're an audio person, or if you really care or pay that much attention to this stuff, it's something that is gonna throw you off a little bit. And I wish it was a little bit louder. I use the speakers on mine a little bit more than probably a normal person, because so many people use AirPods, and that's kind of the thing. I think they reason, okay, we can get rid of one speaker to save room because people can use AirPods or earbuds, or hey, of course you can go buy the new AirPods Pro 3, right? That right there, you're like, well, that overcomes the speaker issue. And they probably did some market research and determined, hey, like 90% of people don't use their speakers. They just use earbuds all the time. So those are kind of the drawbacks, right? The no vapor chamber, I am noticing some heat. It is getting hotter than the 17 Pro Max. Battery, the vapor chamber helps out with that too, because it keeps things cooler. Cooler means better battery life, right? So if you go outside, it's 95 degrees outside, and you try to use your phone outside the whole time, like the whole day you're outside, you're going to kill it much quicker because the phone is getting hotter. It's hotter outside. It can't dissipate the heat, and then it's warming up. So then you find yourself in a position where it's just heat, heat, heat. That really wears down the battery a whole lot faster. So if you're using it in a really cool 65-degree office like I'm in now, you don't really notice heat so much, and it's not going to have that big of an impact on the battery. So yeah, no vapor chamber. It can have implications, especially when gaming too. That's going to be a big deal. And then one speaker, annoying, but there are workarounds. And then one camera doesn't bother me that much. That's actually one of the least of the problems I have with it. And the battery life, but the battery is what you get, right? You only have so much. And of course, you can get the battery pack that goes on the back, which is like $100. And that's neat, but then that makes the profile of the phone bigger. So you're like, okay, well, why not just get a 15 Pro Max or a 15 Pro, or sorry, 17 Pro Max or 17 Pro, and you could do that for about the same price of getting a Pro or a Pro Max. So you have to really want this phone, or you have to be a person who doesn't need those things. And I told my wife, I said, you'll probably be fine. She's coming over from a 13 Pro Max with like 82% battery health. It dies on her pretty quick. So I'm like, yeah, this should get you much better battery life than your old rinky tattered and worn 13 Pro Max. And then if you only care about one camera, you don't like the extra weight, you want to try the new slim profile, plus you still get ProMotion, you still get the beautiful screen and all that stuff, is brighter than ever, then you'll probably like it. So I think people who are more casual phone users, who don't use their phone 5, 6, 7 hours of screen on time a day, want just to have the capability to take good photos, really good selfies, good selfie video, and things like that. And then you just want that great iPhone experience, but you're not going to be dialed in with the screen on for 6, 7 hours a day like I am. I think this could be a really good phone if you want one. But don't say I didn't warn you. The battery is not going to be as good as it is with the other phones. The iPhone 17, 17 Pro, 17 Pro Max are probably all going to get better battery life. But if you're coming from an older phone that's a couple of years old, has a smaller battery health's not that great, different things like that, and you probably will see actually a battery improvement, maybe better battery than your older phone. So I'm going to do some more dialing in. I'll have my full review probably like a week or so, and I'm going to have a complete breakdown, like, okay, this is what I got with power mode, adaptive power mode on. This is what I got with it off. This is maybe what you can expect. Here's some more different things you can do to expand your battery life. Because here's the thing. I like the phone a lot. Like, I love the design. I like the look. I really enjoy carrying it around. It's super light. It feels premium. I think it looks better than the Edge. And it has a lot of great things going for it. And again, it's just a beautiful phone. But there are drawbacks. This Rose has a few little thorns on it. Can you navigate the thorns and grab the stem and not get hurt? Sure. And, if you do it carefully, then you don't have anything to worry about. But if you're reckless and you just go in and sitting there going 90 miles an hour the whole time trying to use it like a Pro Max, and you need 6, 7, 8 hours screen on time a day, you're going to get met with some disappointment. So that's the real deal. That's the skinny. That's my honest thoughts on using this. Honest. I was going to make a comment on Twitter because there's so many of these videos or reviews now. I see honest review. I'm like, so if that review is honest, are your other ones not honest? Or are you implying that other people don't make honest reviews, right? I just really, really hate it. Like, it really irks me when I see honest review in a title. I even made one before just to make a play on that and to highlight the silliness in it. And I called a review a dishonest review. And it was still an honest review, right? I told the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth. But it's just one of those things that the YouTube semantics and gamesmanship and clickbait, it just drives me crazy. But anyway, hopefully that gave you some good insight on the phone. I love the way it looks. I love carrying it. It's beautiful. It does everything you need it to do. It's just a matter of how long and can you live with the other things. And maybe just get some AirPods Pro 3 to make up for the speaker. So that's all I got. If you have any questions, comments, gripes, concerns, complaints, all that stuff, please, of course, go to the comment section. I'll do my best to get back with you. If you enjoy the video, please hit the like and the subscribe button and the little notification bell if you want updates when new videos come out. And as always, thanks for being here. I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you guys next time.